We open on some flashing and quickly cut videos of chaos that is way too much for my adult attention span until we zoom out to see that it's all being played on TV screens. Who could possibly watch all that at once?
Monkey.
These three randos break into the place and find these apeshits going apeshit. After more walking around, they find a monkey watching these TVs and are surprised that none of them are playing Subway Surfers. After that realization, this doctor catches the three and tells them the monkeys are infected with rage. Hey, me too, man. The Yanks just got their asses kicked by Boston. What the fuck is that? Flashing light warning, fellas, but they don't care and free the monkeys anyway. The chimps immediately attack them, which, like, I'm pretty sure they would have done even if they were healthy. I'm not really sure what they expected to happen here. All three of them get infected through a series of fast cuts and blood throw up. Those cuts are not me. I promise it's how the movie looks. Lay off. After an ambiguous ass ending, we cut to 28 days later. So the opening must have been a commercial or something? Whatever. We see this guy, Jim, who was played by Oppenheimer, and we are immediately greeted by his full shaft as he wakes up and finds himself in a hospital. Jim explodes and drinks a metric ass ton of Pepsi before he leaves and sees that there's no one left in England. This is the scariest part of the movie because it shows the British have breached containment. He wanders while some very 2000s music plays for what feels like forever, and 28 days later, he finally finds a newspaper that tells us the British have evacuated. I don't know why it took a virus for them to do that, but they did it nonetheless. Anyway, back to walking. He walks into a church and past some very elegant wall art that spreads the good word in a not so good way until he finds a more batillion bodies. He then hears pounding on a door and finds a priest. This one's a zombie, so he swings and knocks that father to the ground as he runs away, but the British are coming. Jim runs from them as these two masked people throw Molotovs at the British, the zombies, easy mistake, from a gas station. Listen, I'm no expert, but like, fire and gas? That usually results in... yeah, that. After saving Jim, they take him to their underground snack kingdom. We learn that the two are named Mark and Selena. They tell him everything that I just told you, and that the virus spreads through bites and blood. They also tell him that there were reports of rage in France and New York, because the fucking Yanks left.
No, there's no government, no police, no army.
And there is no Queen of England.
So, yeah, England has fallen. And I thought this was a horror movie. The next day, they walk along the British subway. Thankfully, not the restaurant, because I'm 90% sure showing English food on camera violates the Geneva Convention. They walk all the way to where Jim's family lives, and he finds that his parents are dead. The others comfort him until they decide that'd be safer to stay for the night than to risk going back. Mark and Selena sleep as Jim lights a candle. I'm sure that light source in the dark won't attract anything dangerous. Never mind. Thankfully, Mark's a real one and grabs one of the zombies off him before waking Selena up to get the other one. Jim's fine. No bites, and he didn't get any blood in his system, but Mark's not so lucky. There's this crazy dark scene where Selena doesn't hesitate to slice her friend Mark into bits as she screams and begs for his life. But I'm pretty sure you're having a good day, so I won't play that clip. After he changes clothes, Jim and Selena walk back into the city. Jim asks how Selena knew Mark was infected, and she says that she didn't. But she only had 10 seconds to figure it out and didn't want to risk it. For those who need to hear it, 10 seconds is about 5 seconds twice. Jim and Selena keep talking and she mentions doing him, which was very strange. Almost as strange as these flashing lights that they see on a far-off balcony. So they go to check it out. Jay and S enter the building and go up a quastillion steps until they stop for a break. Literally 30 seconds after they do that, two zombies break through the barrier and start climbing up the steps after them. This is a prime example of why you always want to make sure your contractor doesn't cheap out of materials. Selena dusts Jim's ass until they both reach this guy in full SWAT armor who sends the zombies back to the lobby. His name's Frank. He and his daughter Hannah let Jim and Selena into their apartment and Jim shaves. It's not important, but he looks different after this. He and Selena stay the night, and in the morning, Frank shows Jim his rainwater collection system.
You can't make it work. You never think it. Needing rain so badly. Not in fucking England.
Now, this clip is by no means important to the movie, but I'm including it simply because it's iconic. Also, this one's a laundry basket. That's funny, I think. They decide that they can't stay there, so they use a hand crank radio to look for any broadcasts. They find one, and it says that there's armed soldiers ready to protect anyone who comes to their camp that is 27 miles northeast of Manchester. Miles? I guess the metric system was a victim of the virus too. Checkmate, Europe. After hearing the broadcast, the four characters decide to risk their own deaths to make it to the camp in the British mobile. Seriously, put a corgi on that thing, I'd consider it a stereotype. They drive Super Nanny's car through this dark tunnel, and after a tense scene involving a gazillion rats, a flat tire, and some zombies, they drive off and have fun in a grocery store. I love things like this because it shows the best of the apocalypse. The parts between the friend killing, the lack of water, and the constant threat of being eaten. You know, the fun part. It's a side of the end times that shows not everything has to be all doom and gloom all the time, and I think that's kind of neat. After their shopping spree, they need gas, so they stop to siphon it from a fuel truck. After that, we get another little scene of them making the best of the apocalypse. They all look so happy here. Look, Selena even sneaks in a kiss. They stay the night and keep driving the next morning and see that the entirety of Manchester is burning. First London Bridge, now this shit? You Brits gotta stop building things. After making a new nursery rhyme, they arrive where the soldiers were, the 42nd blockade. It's completely abandoned. There's nothing and no one. Frank gets pissed. He risks not only his own life, but the lives of his friends and his daughter for nothing. He's so pissed that he tries to fight this bird, but tragedy strikes when blood from an infected man drips into his eye, and everyone knows what that means. Frank does too. He knows that his time is running out, so he immediately tells his daughter that he loves her. He turns into a zombie, and Hannah watches as he is gunned down by the soldiers. They didn't leave. They were hiding, making Frank's death completely avoidable. After the second unnecessary death of the film, soldiers take the three into their compound where they meet Major West. He lets our survivors settle in, but they're all fucked up. Hannah's dad died, Selena learned to care for others just in time for both Mark and Frank to die, and Jim's ass is out again. It's a mess over here. After his shower, Jim finds a pair of pants, and Major West takes him on a tour of the base. There's hot water, a kitchen, a tied up zombie, they got everything. Oh, yeah, this guy's name is Mailer. Mailer was infected 2 days ago, and they have been studying him ever since. I'm sure that by the time this movie ends, Mailer will 100% still be in those chains and not involved in the plot whatsoever. A massive amount of nothing happens until Major West reveals that the only reason he sent out the broadcast was, gross warning, to lure women into the base so his men could, you know. Jim knows too, and he ain't fucking with it, so he grabs Selena and Hannah and tries to dip until one of the guys knocks him out. He wakes up, and West makes a disgusting offer. He offers Jim safety in return for letting Selena and a literal child stay with him. But he knows Jim will refuse that offer, so he orders his men to take Jim prisoner. They take Jim and this other prisoner into the woods to put them down. They put down the other guy, but Jim is able to slip away while his captors argue. Handcuffed, alone, and naked once again, seriously put this man on a list, Jim runs through the woods. He collapses and looks into the sky, only to see a plane flying overhead. This is important because it proves a point made earlier about how the British suffer while the rest of the world is watching TV and riding planes like normal. Back at the house, Selena and Hannah are being held at gunpoint and are being told to make themselves presentable. Now, I'm gonna skip this next scene because I could barely watch it, so I'm gonna refuse to put it out there. I will take this time to lighten the mood a bit. As awful as this may seem, this plot point falls in line with how George Romero describes zombie movies. Romero is pretty much the father of all zombie movies, having created the first ever zombie movie, Night of the Living Dead, and its sequels. He always emphasized that the zombies were not the monsters of those movies, the people were. His movies show how animalistic people would get without laws to control them. This plot point shows this idea in a more intense way than any example I could think of from Romero. So, though it shows an awful and indescribably evil action being planned and kinda taking place, it's also doing that to show that the infected aren't the only sick ones here. The people are slowly turning into animals as well. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. This awful scene ends when Jim makes the sirens go off. That lures West and this other guy out, which gives Jim just enough time to sneak back into the base and free Mailer. Who would have thought that he would be important for the plot? Mailer breaks through a window and lets Selena and Hannah get away while he disposes of their captors by infecting them as Jim finds a way into the house. He finds Selena being held captive by this asshole and takes him out by doing something I cannot show on this site. Hannah stumbles in and knocks Jim on his ass but stops beating on him when she finds out that he's not infected. So the three reunite and make a break for the exit. They get into the car only to find West waiting for them. He shoots Jim on sight, but Hannah, who is in the driver's seat for some reason, whips that hoe right into Mailer territory. Mailer kills West and his screams echo as the three get away. Cut to 28 days later. So all that must have been a commercial or something. Jim is naked again and wakes up in a cabin. He's here with Hannah and Selena. They're living the country life, away from all the dangers of the city. Hannah comes in and tells Jim and Selena that something is coming. They lay out a massive piece of fabric that says hello just in time for a plane to pass by overhead and see them. The three have a glimmer of hope for salvation, and that's it. Overall, 28 Days Later was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It definitely has its slow moments, and Act 3 feels like a completely different movie from Acts 1 and 2, but it's enjoyable. Mostly. The whole plot point of the army guys forcing themselves on the girls was a lot, but I feel like it was necessary. I mean, let's face it, it's a scary world for women out there, and the more we recognize that, the more we could do to try and make it better. It's hard to explain this, so I'm just gonna give a list of what I liked. I like the little things. I feel like a lot of zombie movies don't mention things like water rationing. Speaking of water rationing, I also liked how creative it was. The shot of the goldfish not having a lot of water in the tank was a brilliant way to show that their water was scarce. But there are some bad things. This movie came out in 2002, and it shows. There's a lot of those jagged, fast cuts and zooms. They give the movie style, but also make it hard to follow. Also, this movie was shot on a very early digital camera, so it has that grainy look to it. I know some people like that, but I don't. And the music is very 2002. Enough said. With all that being taken into account, 28 Days Later gets an 87 out of 100 on the Stache-ometer. In mustache terms, that's pretty well groomed. Okay, fun fact. I mentioned that this movie was filmed on an early digital camera, and I even took points off for that, but what I didn't say was that this movie was one of the first movies to be shot digitally, meaning that this movie is very important in film history because it was made during the transition from traditional film cameras into digital ones. And if you like digital things, you should digitally subscribe to my digital YouTube channel. Seriously though, if you made it this far into the video, you either liked it or you turned into a zombie halfway through and can't turn it off. Either way, subscribe for more me. Comment your thoughts down below, and I'll see you next time. Stache out.